Good evening, I'm Britt Clennett in Hong Kong and welcome to VTV News. Coming up on tonight's show. The government vows to work with mainland authorities to clamp down on tour groups said to be operating illegally in Hong Kong. An MTR subcontractor admits to receiving a warning over steel bar cutting, but calls it a minor issue. And Vice President Wang Qishan says Beijing is willing and ready to hold talks with the US to resolve their trade dispute. First up tonight, the government says it's been in touch with Guangdong authorities regarding allegations that illegal tour groups are entering the city via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. Almond Lee has the story.
This is one of dozens of tour groups from the mainland coming into the city via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge. But while the SAR government welcomes the economic boost, it's now trying to clamp down on possible illegal elements.
We wish to solve the problem at its source. With better communication, we could improve, first, the transportation arrangement that can accommodate everyone's needs. And secondly, we could eradicate those mainland inbound tour groups that operate in Hong Kong without a local receiving agency.
Tung Chung was swamped with visitors over the weekend because of its proximity to the bridge's port area. A representative from the city's tourism industry says that, based on his own observations at the Hong Kong port, approximately 20,000 travelers on illegal tours may have entered the city on Sunday alone.
I call them unknown tour groups. Their influx really caught us off guard. And we're not talking about a scale of several thousand people. That's still within the capacity of the port area or shuttle buses. As far as I know, the number is 20,000.
Another concern regards the individual visit scheme, or IVS, which is applicable to groups with less than 8 people who are traveling to Hong Kong without hiring a local guide. But one local tourism association says that tourists entering the city on this scheme aren't always being honest.
I saw those tourists who took public transport and the tour guide who was holding the flag. If they really are under IVS, the tour guide shouldn't be introducing the place, because if he does, he's working.
Jie says it's difficult to confirm an actual financial transaction between the traveler and the guide, and that this gray area makes law enforcement tricky. Without a designated coach to take IVS tourists back and forth to the port area, this B6 bus from Tung Chung is their only choice. The district councillor there says this is beyond Tung Chung's capacity and urged the government to negotiate with mainland authorities to stop these illegal tours from pouring in. Almond Lee, VTV News.
A court hearing into last year's Langham Place escalator malfunction has begun with a technician being accused of failing to ensure that the machinery had been properly examined. Ma Siu-leung has pleaded not guilty to failing to thoroughly examine the escalator. However, he did admit to not properly examining the associated equipment and machinery of the escalator. The incident happened in March last year, when an escalator at Langham Place suddenly moved in the opposite direction, causing shoppers to fall and pile on top of each other. 18 people were injured. The MTR Shoddy Works hearing continued today with a subcontractor admitting its workers were caught cutting steel bars at the Hung Hom station. Poon Wai Shan, the boss of Fangsheng Construction, said it received a warning from the main contractor late in Asia in December 2015 over 5 steel bars being cut and improperly screwed into cupolas on a diaphragm wall. Poon then warned his workers not to do this again and called it a minor issue. The company head also said steel bars not including the threaded parts, are only cut to test the strength of the bars or when they're too long. The West Kowloon Cultural District Authority was grilled by lawmakers today over the M+ Museum project, in which the contractor was fired and subcontractors weren't getting paid. The authority's CEO called it a rare occurrence and said they were simply unlucky. A scandal emerged when the authority fired the museum's contractor, Sin Chong, in August, claiming it was insolvent. It then paid some of the subcontractors out of its own pocket. But last week, 7 subcontractors complained that the authority had only offered them part of the $70 million they're owed between them and were forced to sign away their right to pursue litigation. Despite the saga, the project is expected to be completed by 2020.
Apparently, I'm told by my team, this has only ever happened once before in Hong Kong, so we've been very, very unlucky. But frankly, in this case, the situation between when we appointed them as our main contractor and when they obviously fell into insolvency was a matter of years. And you can't anticipate that sort of situation.
Well, excitement for the upcoming Lunar New Year fair at Victoria Park continues to grow, with bidding prices for the stalls surpassing last year's levels. This includes one stall dedicated to dried goods, fetching more than $70,000. Now, that's 54% higher than last year's amount. This comes one day after a fast food stall fetched $520,000, 4% more than the amount paid previously. Coming up next, the latest from the world of business. While import tariffs between China and the US remain firmly in place, the central government has once again said that it's willing to come to the negotiating table. In a speech today, Vice President Wang Qishan said that both sides would gain from better economic cooperation. Our mainland correspondent Samantha Vadas sent us this update.
Well, while China shows the world that it's open for business and serious about it by putting on this behemoth of an import fair here in the commercial capital, Beijing says it's ready to work with the US to iron out trade differences. The comments were made by Vice President Wang Qishan at an economic forum in Singapore today. He reiterated what the central government has repeatedly said, that there are basically no winners in a trade war. Of course, Washington has slapped tariffs on $250 billion worth of Chinese imports, and there may be more to come. US President Donald Trump has threatened to impose further tariffs on $267 billion of Chinese goods if the two sides fail to reach an agreement on trade. That will engulf virtually all of what America imports from the mainland. Now, no doubt all eyes will be on an expected meeting between Trump and President Xi Jinping later this month. Xi opened the expo here yesterday, where he spoke of embracing greater openness and made big promises on trade despite mounting frictions with the United States.
Well, let's take a look at how these developments played out on the equity markets. The Hang Seng Index ended the day 0.7% higher at 26,120 points. Energy and property stocks led the charge, but tech stocks continued to hover at the bottom for a second straight day. Across the border, the Shanghai Composite shed 0.2% to close at 2,659 points. Consumer and utility shares were among the day's worst performers. Japan's top automaker has raised its full-year profit forecast by more than 4%, thanks to a weaker yen. Toyota also announced a profit jump in the July to September quarter. Its earnings were bolstered by higher sales in China, while profitability in most of its major markets, including North America, improved. Those numbers indicate that Toyota is managing to avoid a fall in sales on the mainland, just as its global rivals are starting to feel the effects of a cooling economy. Well, shares of Apple's Asian suppliers tumbled today after it was reported that the tech giant is allegedly cancelling plans to increase production of its new iPhone XR. According to Japan's Nikkei Daily, Apple has told its smartphone assemblers in the region to halt plans for additional production lines dedicated to iPhone XR. It's the cheapest of the three iPhones unveiled in September. The report comes just days after Apple warned about slower than expected sales for the crucial holiday quarter. Chinese online giants Alibaba and JD.com are trying to crack e-commerce partnerships with top luxury brands that usually shun selling through third parties. And as Matthew Larantonda reports, some labels have signed up, but the major fashion houses are proving to be hard to lock down.
Alibaba fancies a Louis Vuitton handbag. The Chinese giant of online shopping aims to strike deals with Europe's big names in posh goodies. Many of them, not least Louis Vuitton, have so far preferred to go it alone in the country. If you want one of its products in China, you'll have to go to a Vuitton store, online or a brick-and-mortar place. Reuters luxury goods correspondent Sarah White in Paris says Alibaba and rival JD.com are determined to change that.
So the luxury industry is still dominated nowadays by big European brands. They're pushing into China more and more because these clients are incredibly important. And at the same time, you've got Chinese e-commerce players who are looking to gain a bit of a foothold in this market. It's somewhere where they're not very relevant still, but by teaming up with European brands, it's a way for them to try and benefit from this big boom in luxury spending in China.
Both sides may need each other. Chinese shoppers account for 1/3 of all luxury goods sales. But European firms struggle to reach every part of that country's vast market unaided. Alibaba and company are desperate for a slice of that action. Many brands do play ball, but some of the really high-end names are playing hard to get. Not just Vuitton, but Hermes and Gucci too.
They're very reluctant to team up with third parties. For them, it's a question of protecting their prices, of protecting their distribution. And so, for the moment, these are brands that are not likely in the near term to team up with the likes of Alibaba and JD.com.
Hermes might be the next to do a deal. The maker of posh scarves has hinted as much. Gucci, though, has clear red lines. It might do a deal if the websites really crack down on fake luxury goods. Vuitton, though, that looks like a tougher nut to crack.
All right, time for a break now, but do stay with us. Up next, a final push on the campaign trail as millions of US voters gear up to cast their ballots in a highly contentious election race. We'll have the details from Washington.
One world, infinite visions. View TV 6.
What am I hoping for this season? I'm hoping my guy brings Showtime back to LA.
I hope the Warriors are ready to be tested.
Yeah.
We hope the rest of the country sees a lot more Thunder.
I respectfully disagree.
I'm hoping for some courtside seats this season. What's so funny?
What am I hoping for? Something that leaves me speechless.
The Houston Rockets versus San Antonio Spurs. Sunday morning at 9:30, live on Channel 99 View TV.
No food.
Need some food.
No shelter.
I have to build up my shelter.
No fresh water.
There we go. I need this.
No tools.
This I can make use of.
No camera crew.
There's just not enough to gather here. There's not enough to hunt.
Just one man alone in the wilderness, surviving. Survivor Man. Wednesday night at 8:30 on View TV 6. Created by the legendary chef Gordon Ramsay. 9 home cooks sharpen their knives, tie their aprons and battle it out. Cookery combat under extreme pressure. Amateur cooks go through rigorous challenges. Bust a gut to impress celebrity chefs from around the world.
Good luck.
Who can stand the heat of the kitchen? Who can take home a cash prize and earn the coveted title of Culinary Genius? Sunday night at 8 on View TV 6.
In the enchanted land of Equestria, Unicorn Twilight Sparkle and her pony friends take on the adventure of a lifetime. Together, they face exciting challenges that they've never had before and discover the elements of harmony with honesty, kindness, laughter, generosity, loyalty, and magic. The main six learn about the most powerful magic of all, friendship. My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic. Tonight at 7:30 on View TV 6.
Welcome back. In the US, voters are queuing up at polling stations across the country, casting their ballots in the congressional midterm election. President Donald Trump has admitted the outcome of today will be seen as a referendum on his presidency. Our correspondent Katie Gregory reports from Washington, D.C. on the high-stakes election race.
The final push for votes in a very tense race. President Donald Trump visiting key Midwest states on his last day of campaigning, sticking to the issue that worked so well for him and the Republican Party in 2016, immigration. A caravan of Central American migrants making its way to the border, helping to push his message.
Democrats are inviting caravan after caravan, isn't that nice, of illegal aliens to flood into our country and overwhelm your communities. That's what's happened. Have you seen the pictures? And they try and play it down like it's not that many. It's not that many people. You know, you're looking at a bridge with thousands and thousands. We're building the wall. No, we're building the wall. Don't worry about it.
And while he's been accused of ignoring major voter concerns about healthcare and the economy, his campaign opponent hasn't been mincing his words.
The character of this country is on the ballot. Who we are is on the ballot. What kind of politics we expect is on the ballot. How we conduct ourselves in public life is on the ballot. How we treat other people is on the ballot.
Earlier in this campaign, the polls were showing a so-called blue wave, predicting Democrats would sweep the House and the Senate. But as voting day drew closer, that gap tightened.
Well, I think the outcome is going to be very positive towards the Republican. I think the red wave will continue. I think the way the Supreme Court hearings went, I think is going to be detrimental to the Democratic Party. I think they've offended a lot of people. And so I've cast my vote already, and I think Trump carried Michigan, where we're from, and I think that'll continue across the U.S.
I think that some of the races are going to be really close, but just definitely hoping for a little bit of a shift. So we can just cross our fingers. Go blue!
If the Democrats take the House and the Republicans keep the Senate, a split Congress could see Trump's legislative agenda stall. If the Democrats take both, there could be more investigations into the administration and potentially the impeachment of President Trump. Whatever happens today, after the results come in, the focus turns to the 2020 presidential election. The fight for the White House begins. And the layout of Congress after these midterms will have a huge impact on Donald Trump's chances of re-election for a second term. The midterms are always seen as a referendum on the ruling administration. 2018 has seen a record number of early voters and a record number of female candidates, most of them Democrats. What that means for the Republican Party and its hold on Congress is a question we'll finally know the answer to early Wednesday. Katie Gregory, View TV News, Washington.
Elsewhere in the US, the Trump administration has slapped sanctions back in place to choke Iran's oil and shipping industries. For now, top customers such as China and India are exempt, but US officials say they're determined to make Tehran toe the line.
Our objective is to starve the Iranian regime of the revenue it uses to fund violent and destabilizing activities throughout the Middle East and indeed around the world. Our ultimate goal is to convince the regime to abandon its current revolutionary course. The Iranian regime has a choice. It can either do a 180-degree turn from its outlaw course of action and act like a normal country, or it can see its economy crumble.
Well, even as Washington takes a firm stance, the Iranian government says it won't bow down to the pressure. Tehran says it will continue to sell its oil despite reimposed sanctions, as Julian Satterthwaite reports.
The US reimposed sanctions on Iran on Monday, but Tehran is sounding defiant.
The Americans should be punished forever. They are bullying a great nation with an ancient cultural heritage and are making new excuses every day. This is unacceptable to our nation.
Iranian President Hassan Rouhani vowing to keep selling oil in defiance of the sanctions. And that will be possible. On Friday, the White House said it would temporarily allow 8 major buyers to keep importing Iranian crude. Traders downgrading the impact of the sanctions as a result, allowing oil prices to fall Monday morning. The looming sanctions sparked protests outside the US Embassy in Tehran over the weekend. Iranians shouted "Death to America" and set fire to the Stars and Stripes. Such chants may not be rare here, especially on Sunday, the anniversary of the 1979 seizure of the embassy. But this year there is added vitriol. At the Tehran rallies, the head of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guards described the sanctions as economic and psychological warfare.
Saudi Arabia has told the United Nations that it will prosecute those responsible for the killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. That's as a Turkish official accused the kingdom of sending a 2-man cleanup team to remove evidence of the murder a week after Khashoggi disappeared at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. Helen Percival has the details.
These men may be the 2-man cleanup team sent to erase evidence of the killing of Jamal Khashoggi a week after the journalist disappeared in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul on October 2nd. That's according to a Turkish government source who says the 2 men are a sign that top Saudi officials knew about the crime and that the men arrived embedded with the same group of Saudi officials sent for a joint investigation with their Turkish counterparts. Turkey's vice president on Monday called for an investigation into Turkish newspaper reports claiming that Khashoggi's body was disposed of using acid. Speaking at the UN on Monday, the president of Saudi Arabia's Human Rights Commission confirmed it will prosecute those behind Khashoggi's death. He said King Salman had instructed the Saudi public prosecutor to proceed with the investigation. The United States told the UN that a thorough and transparent investigation is essential. Khashoggi's sons, seen here with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, have issued an appeal for the return of their father's remains, saying their family is unable to grieve without them.
Time to switch gears now and get the latest sports news. Well, there's been more troubling news for USA gymnastics. The United States Olympic Committee now says it's looking to revoke the status of USA gymnastics as the sport's national governing body. In an open letter, the committee's chief executive, Sarah Hirshland, said the decision did not come easily, but she did acknowledge that the organisation had struggled to manage itself properly. The decision comes in the wake of one of the largest sexual abuse scandals the country's seen, after hundreds of female athletes accused former team doctor Larry Nassar of molesting them. Well, in the Premier League, Huddersfield Town is slowly inching its way back up the table after they clinched a 1-0 win against Fulham. The odds already seem to be in their favour following kick-off as the Terriers dominated possession early on. Fulham's weak performance only cemented a certain victory. An own goal by Timothy Fosu-Mensah in the 29th minute was testament to that. The goal was Huddersfield's first of the season on home soil after netting just 4 away goals. With that much-needed win, Huddersfield moves to 18th place on 6 points, while Fulham falls to the bottom of the table. All right, staying with football now, and in the Champions League, Barcelona star Lionel Messi is close to returning to action from injury. Head coach Ernesto Valverde says the striker could feature this week in Barca's square-off with Inter Milan. That's despite suffering a broken arm just a few weeks ago. Barcelona has won all 4 games they have played without the Argentine star, including a 2-0 win over Inter Milan 2 weeks ago. The Spanish side currently stand atop Group B with 9 points, while Inter trails by 3 points in second place ahead of Tuesday's match at the San Siro.
Leo Messi is at the point where he might be available, but we have to wait for the training session. We have to wait to see if he's safe to play. In terms of his play and his movements, he's fine, but we really have to see if he's in good shape. We have to wait.
In Group A, meanwhile, leaders Borussia Dortmund and Atletico Madrid are set to battle it out in just a few hours on the 4th match day of the group stage. And this could be the Spanish side's chance at redemption after being hammered by Dortmund the last time they met. That 4-0 defeat is definitely going to be weighing on their minds going into the match. But can Atletico Madrid fend off some of those potent counter-attacks that cost it and many other teams their games against Dortmund?
En cuanto al rival, Borussia Dortmund is one of the best teams in Europe. and as a consequence, they're first in their league. They haven't lost a game in the Champions League, nor their own league, and they play very well. They're playing spectacular football, and it's clear that if they keep up this level, they have big chances of becoming the German champions.
That's it for now. Do join us again a bit later for an update on the stories that are shaping your world. I'm Britt Clennett, and this is View TV News. Bye for now. We'll catch you later.
Coming up next, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic Season 3. On the road to becoming the best in the field, we pledge to revamp the world through television.